So I just want to start off by acknowledging and thanking everybody for choosing to be a part of this space. You might have read the blurb. In the next hour, we will explore a very big question: what is India? Jokingly, everybody's been asking me, so Hafsa, what is India? And I feel like that is the exploration we'll be on together, the three of us and all of you together. Don't expect any answers from us. This is not an MCQ question. Our hope is that you leave this space with as many questions and some spark, some inspiration, some new areas to reflect on. But we are not coming with any answers. Our hope is that we generate conversation in this space together. So how we've structured the next 1 hour is there'll be some stories the three of us would like to share with you. And then there are some activities that we'll all indulge in, very TFI style. And the hope is that we'll root this question into the truth and hope of our country. So we'll see both the gray and the sunshine. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So to start off with, we have the three of us together, and we'll. Perfect. So, also to start off with, we want to acknowledge that our reflections of what is India is based on our individual experiences. And through our reflections and through our questions, our hope is that you also reflect on your experiences and insights on how you have experienced this country and what is your truth and hope. And then we will have some exercises for you to put out those reflections. But in no way, shape, or form do we represent the totality and the diversity of this country. This is just a fragment of our experiences. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of a Q&A, a panel discussion, if you will. And at the end of it, if you have any questions for us, we'll open the floor. Okay, so I want to start with Mehveen. Mehveen, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey from childhood, reflecting on how you have experienced India, the truth and the hope?
Hi everyone, Mehveen. I hope you all are feeling good. So I have done my education throughout in Gurukul, minority welfare schools, right? Hostels, so to say. And I come from Hyderabad, Golconda, a locality there. And I'll share with you what I have seen throughout. When we say what is India, I don't want to give definitions or some things written on paper and call it India, because all of us believe that a place is not defined by what's written somewhere, right? It's defined by the experiences of the people and the hopes and the dreams and the desires, aspirations we carry within ourselves. So throughout, from my school and my college, as I studied in Gurukul, I've been seeing some things, but I'll just share. In through my sharing, I'd like to bring to your attention three things. One is learning, another is support, and third one is poverty. Learning, as we all know, we all talk about kids, we all talk about students, right? When I was a student at our home, most of the people after seventh or eighth, there's no chance or no scope for higher education. There's no talk going on about it because nobody has seen that, right? And my family was the same. Be it a girl or be it a boy, once you cross 8 or 9, there's education is not a straightforward answer like it is for some of us. कि 10th किया चलो intermediate हो गया, degree, bachelor's, then MA or PhD. It's not like that for everyone, right? So at our home also, nobody finished school, right? Some of them just finished school and that was the end. And in our school, we get homeworks, we get projects, and we have to go back home and work on them. And sometimes as kids, we have questions. We have questions. How do I write it? What is the spelling? How do I pronounce it? Little things like this. But most of the kids don't have anyone at home, anyone outside the school place to ask these questions. Nobody to support or nobody to even talk about school or education or books. So I did not have anyone at home to discuss all these things. And it was basically like after school, outside of school, there is no education, there's no schooling. And as I was volunteering in a local government primary school, I saw the same thing. Learning difficult for most of the kids. The kids that we see around, the kids that you see when you're driving to, driving to your work or driving from office to home. You see some kids walking around, some still in their school dresses, wearing torn out pants, and all. We all see kids like that on streets. These are the kids I'm talking about. I also lived like that, and I studied with students like this. So support learning is difficult thing. But my mother completed a junior college, and after that she got married. So I was lucky enough to have someone, at least someone at home, who would make me sit and make me do my homework and help me with the math, help me with the numbers and all the multiplications and all. As a child, it's so confusing, and with every class, new concepts add up, and it's difficult. So I had my mother to help me there, and that was the reason. This reason of nobody getting educated, no support being there, was also the reason my mother pushed so hard, went against all the family members, and put me in hostels, so that I'd at least continue my education. That support, when I had it, I also saw that at my hostel, majority of the students did not have it. Majority of my friends did not have it. And the kids I taught, they also don't have it. I was their support. You, in your classes, you were that support. Third is poverty. Poverty, not just financial poverty, but also learning poverty. By learning, not just academics, numbers, alphabets, degrees, but also that space in mind all of us have, that confidence and that exposure of life, some opinions and perspectives that we form about the world and the places we live in, that freedom inside the mind and freedom and confidence in actions, that poverty exists. I saw that in my life, I saw it around, and I see it every day wherever I go to work, wherever I go to interact with you. And I feel all of us sitting here are somewhere, somewhere trying to interact with these three things. And to me, India looks like this. There is learning at every stage. All of us need support, and support is lacking too. And there is poverty. Acknowledging that, I feel we will be able to help ourselves, help each other, and lead. Thank you, Afsar.
Thanks, Mehveen, for that reflection on your own life and your experiences and how that's motivated you in the work that you're doing. Pawan, would love to hear from you as well. What were the incidences and moments in your life that made you reflect on who you are and what we are as a country?
Yeah. So hello everyone. My name is Pawan. So I'll just tell you about my journey till here. So till sixth grade, I have a normal childhood, but on some day in sixth grade, I got a disease. I started getting patches on all over my body. So everybody, I thought my friends and everyone started seeing me differently. They started bullying me, and most of my friends don't want to hang out with me. So at that time, I stopped socializing. I stopped going to my friends, and I used to sit in a home alone. So I became an introvert, basically, and I continued. But yeah, that's my childhood. And uh, when I'm graduating, I heard about Bharat Dekho. So they said that we will be a volunteer and we'll go to schools and teach kids just like TFI fellows. So I like that idea because when I'm around kids, they don't judge, they don't see you differently, right? So I like that idea. But when I became a volunteer and started going to school, I saw the gap in education and how much what is being unfair in the government schools. So I started giving my best in schools, and yeah, the my mentors, the founders of Bharat Eco like my work, and they gave me the role of district lead. So I thought, what will I do as a district lead? So they just told me that you are the one who didn't talk much. Only you took you worked as a volunteer, but you didn't socialize much. but now you have to lead a few more volunteers like you, few more volunteers who are not courageous, just like the beginning of you. So yeah, currently I have a team around 90 people who are just like me volunteering. So that's my journey.
Thank you, Pawan, for that reflection. I think it shows the power of somebody believing in you, and what it can do to find a community where you are accepted and you feel included. So thank you for those reflections. I think very similarly, my journey has been of like finding community and accepting the places where I didn't fit in, and then creating spaces where I felt like I fit in and including other people. When I was in sixth grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and this was before like going to therapy or going to a psychologist was as accepted as it is in today's society. So I felt really ashamed. I didn't like talk about it in school. Everybody who had like a learning disability in school was made to sit in the library. You got an hour extra to write the exams, and I didn't want to feel like like a slow learning child. So I never took those extra hours, and I just struggled in school, and I felt like I wasn't smart enough. Um, Cut to I was in an all girls convent school. Uh, Cut to in college, I went for a year to a co-ed class, so where it was my first experience with like a mixed gender group. I was also wearing a hijab. I would wear a headscarf. And it was a really strange experience going from a convent to this mixed gender group. I sort of felt like I became a wallflower. And what happened was one fine day in class, somebody pulled my headscarf down in class. Um, and I sort of like lost the words in my throat. Of course, it was a joke, and nobody likes a spoil sport. And what's the big deal? So I didn't make a big deal out of it, and that really like stayed with me for many years. The feeling of like not standing up for myself and not using my voice. Luckily enough, like a real pivotal moment in my life was I switched college and I went to this all women's institute. It's called Sophia College, and there I really like found my voice. I found my community. Our professors were really liberal in the sense, like I remember I came from a family that said, you have to cover so many parts of your body because it's inherently provocative. To a professor standing in front of us saying, why can't men wear nail polish? Like, why is there like gender to nails? And that really like opened my mind and opened my horizons. And I also found a safe space where I felt like I could question and where my ideas could be challenged. And that really, in Hindi, there's a poem that says Sarfaroshi ki tamanna. It really like lit this fire in my heart to create these safe spaces for other people, especially young girls, where they could come and like question this expectations that society put on them. And that really led me to do the Teach for India fellowship. At TF, I remember really like distinctly, I had a student named Ranjana, and Ranjana was like, really hardworking, really wanted to excel in her studies. And we ran a learning center close to school where we would invite our kids after class for, extra classes, extracurricular activities. But Ranjana's mom never allowed her to come. The reason being she had younger siblings she had to take care of. So that took precedent over her education. So as a feminist, I was like, ye kya ho raha hai? How is this mother stopping her from getting this access to this education? But of course, through the work, we realized, Ranjana had this real knack for songwriting and writing poetry. And she really found her voice through that. And she found a talent where she felt like she was shining and she was acknowledged for her talents. And that sort of gave her the confidence and agency to go home and advocate for her own education. So she would go home and tell her mother, I'm really good at songwriting and I want to go for these poetry classes. And in that journey, of like finding your own voice and creating space for somebody to find their own voice has been really pivotal in my life and in my work. Um, So yeah, that's a little bit about myself and my journey. With that, do you want to share any other stories, or should we transition?
We can.
All right. So in the next half of the session, what we'll do is we will divide you into groups, and we're going to give you some newspaper articles from the Pari network. that also reflect on the truth and hope of the country. And then Mehveen will lead you into an activity. So before that, do you want to divide them into groups first?
So it's like we have 40. We can make soft food. I am not going to bring in any strategic activity or giving you nice color sticks or giving you nice ribbons to, form the group. Let's see who we don't know, who's new to us. We are it's about to make soft food. We can sit together. Four pieces.
You have 10 seconds.
All of you? Great, great. Thanks. So some of us just joined. So we were doing a little round of introduction, which we can cover up in the next half. Now we'll be going through an activity, and I request all of us to just take a moment to breathe and come back here. Let's close our eyes. Phones on silent, all the books, bags down. Don't have anything in your hands. Be comfortable as you're sitting. Let's close our eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. India, the nation that we all live in. The nation that we all work for. The nation that we all take pride in. India, the place where all of us we were born. India, the place where all our loved ones live. People in our family and the family that we found outside of our blood family. The children we all teach. The children we all love. The children who love us. India is the place where all these people live. What is this India? How does it look like? What is the India you see in your life? What is India for a child living in a village, somewhere in the corner, of Adilabad? What is India for a mother who has to give birth to her child but does not know if she'll get to the hospital on time, if there will be people or roads or vehicles to take her? What is India to a boy who's an elder brother and the only caregiver of his family, who has to take care of education, family, finances, all at once? What is India for people who stand in line in hope, just with a hope that they'll get what they need. These lines can be of food, some certificates, some signatures, or approvals, or appointments for some meetings. What is India? We all keep talking about India before independence, how it was, how Indians lived, how difficult it was, how there's so much injustice, so much poverty, so much indignity, and so much suffering. We all talk about it. And we also talk about India in which people like us chose to become leaders. Leaders who fought for our freedom, fought in their own ways. Some people fought with guns, some people fought with pens, some people taught, some people worked, some people just went to places nobody went, talked to people who were almost unseen, and worked for them. All of us have been hearing stories of leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose, many others, countless others whose names we might not even know. When India needed its people, there were some people who came forward, became leaders, and stood there for India. And there are people sitting here in this room, all of us, who also have a dream for India, who also want to do something for India, who also see some things that they don't like, some things that make us feel bad, some things that we want to change, some things that are just not right. And all of us are giving our lives to do something about the things that we care for. And we are all leaders, wherever we are, a small school, a street in a slum, a big building, or a group of leaders like this. We are all leaders, leaders in our own sense, in our own lives, for our own people. What is your dream for India? What do you dream for India? How is India like? How is India in your heart like? How are the people living? How are the people feeling? How is everyone treated? Is there space for everyone in India? How does your dream India deals with differences and injustice? How is the culture in your India? The India that you dream for? How's the culture like? Does your dream India only have buildings? Only big buildings? Or your India has home for anyone who lives in it? What are the values in your dream India? What are the values followed by people, institutions, and largely as a society? Think about that India. Stay with that India. And when you have an answer, when you feel ready, open your eyes and just stay with yourself. Stay with your thoughts and your dream of India.
Okay. So now that you have a dream for India, now share that dream with your team members and discuss that dream. And after a few minutes, we'll give you charts and crayons. And as a team, draw that dream on the chart. If you want, you can write a song or a poem also. Be creative. Okay? Yeah, you can start the discussion. Hello.
You can choose to move to a little open place. It's your space. Do whatever you want.
Should I tell the time for the next 15 minutes? Like that?
We will do the small group first, suppose.
Yeah.
Next 15 minutes.
Did you guys all share your dreams? Oh, okay.
How much time? Very big overarching question. In your discussion, see what are some smaller questions that are coming up. Some questions I got in the groups are, where is my shit going? Straight up. My question for India is, where is my food going and where is my shit going? Another question I heard is, there is a lack of resources in the country, and just talking about empathy and love and good feelings will not solve that problem. So how do we imagine a future with these lack of resources? Another question I heard was, how do we fix the education gap? How do we support innovative social leadership? Another question I heard was, how do I claim my skills and what I'm good at and contribute to my community? So I want to highlight some questions that are coming up. Any other questions that came up in your groups?